Life can deal with us in an interesting hand at times, sometimes involving major shifts and changes that can crush your soul if you don't have the right techniques and tools in place. But with those tools, one can not only emerge victorious, but actually potentially even enjoy the journey by maintaining a center of calmness. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to another session of Center of Calmness. And today we are super blessed to have Roman Mironov with us. Welcome, Roman.
Hi, Vicky. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for joining us. And if I might ask, how are things in your area of the world right now?
You know, I spend a lot of time at home, so I'm not the best person to ask. So, from what I see, everything has been pretty stable for the last couple of months. We are actually in lockdown, and I'm in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. But I feel like people are less anxious than they were, let's say, in spring.
Oh, that's so good to hear. Yeah. And that's so. I'm so glad to hear that the climate is starting to change because I still remember back to last March when all this started hitting, right? Particularly the COVID-19 and the economic impacts, and stress was at an unprecedented high from my point of view. And of course, you mentioned that your experience at home might not be typical, but so many of us have been home for so long now that I think it's becoming very typical. So I'm glad to hear that your impression of the world is improving, even though, like you said, you're in a sort of lockdown. Is it a strict lockdown, meaning you might get stopped if you're out on the road, or is it more of a honor system lockdown?
I would say that it's not really strict because let's say malls are closed, but libraries do work. And like if you place a hold at your local library, then you can just go and pick the book up, let's say in 1 or 2 days.
Oh, okay, so not bad. So it's not completely. It's not like the library is totally
Right.
closed, for example. Okay, that's a little bit more palatable, and that also helps to free the mind a little bit from total like a completely constrained condition. And it was so glad to hear we were chatting a bit before the show that you've actually maintained a high level of energy and even your sleep quality is very positive. I'm curious. A lot of folks out there, I'm sure, do not know how to even measure or evaluate how much sleep they're getting, and particularly how good it is. Right? How do you manage that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, let's start with the reason why I do that. I believe that that sleep is one of the most underestimated components in our work and life balance because we tend to think that, oh, I can just, cut my sleep today by like 1, 2, or 3 hours, and then I'll just catch up on the weekend. I don't believe this works. I believe that we actually need to sleep more and sleep better. And this is why I track my sleep, and I do this with an app. It's called Sleep Cycle. I like it. It's free and it's perfect. It shows the phases of my sleep, both the deep phase and like this, and what do you call it? Shallow phase.
Okay,
Like
sure. Yeah, kind of like the light sleep, where before you're into the
yeah,
deep
slide sleep.
delta theta type sleep wave, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so it produces a graph that's very visual, and it helps you realize that maybe you had problem falling asleep, and then you think what the reason could be, and the next time you avoid that reason.
Awesome. Now, if I could ask, how does the app know what level of sleep you're achieving? Do you have to hook part of your body up to it, or put a armband or wristband around, or how does it know what level you're achieving as far as how deep your sleep is?
With Sleep Cycle, you just put your phone next to you, and that's it. It uses the microphone.
Oh, it's breathing. Okay. Wow. Very nice. Very nice. And yeah, that ties in quite closely with our topic of meditation that we'll be covering here in a little bit. But I wonder if first we might just kind of go through your life story to some extent. You mentioned a couple of major shifts in your life journey starting in about 2014 with the family change and a move. I wonder if you might just introduce some of those topics which really also motivate your journey toward where you've reached today.
Yeah, yeah. So in 2014, I actually went through a divorce, which was pretty painful because I had expected to be married to my wife for my entire life. So, and I wanted to build a family with her, a real family. But we ended up abruptly because she wasn't happy and she had her reasons totally because my relationship skills were basically non-existent at that point. I worked too much. I was a hopeless workaholic, and that's how I lost my marriage, just because I did not pay enough attention both to my ex-wife and my small son. And another important shift that I went through was last year. I moved from Russia to Canada, and it's been my lifelong dream to do that, to go to North America and live here because well, yeah, I wanted to live in a developed country, and I, I love everything about North America, including the culture,
Awesome.
people, and yeah. So yeah, those were two major shifts in my life.
Yeah, huge, right? Now, what were you doing? If I could ask, what was you mentioned you were a workaholic while you were in Russia? Uh, what what was your occupation, or what kept you working so hard? That and I understand that too. I come from a workaholic by habit as well, where it's so easy for me to add work and not so easy for me to take a break and spend time with the family. So I totally understand that. But what occupied you at the time that took all of your time?
I was a professional translator and editor, so I was working from languages such as English and German into Russian.
Gotcha. Okay. So that's sort of like a unlimited faucet, right? As much as you wish to work, you could.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I treated work like some people self-medicate with food or drugs or smoking. I self-medicated with work, I guess.
I totally understand. Yeah, you can almost lose yourself in just adding a constant or keeping a constant overload, and then having that become the hamster wheel, if you will, that you just keep running quicker and quicker, and kind of it takes care of a lot of other things, so to speak. At least until you reach a burnout point or realize that your life is changing and you need to adapt to change with it.
Yeah, or your wife tells you she has filed for a divorce.
I can't imagine. Yeah, yeah. What a day, right? And yeah. So how did you make it through that? I mean, that's a life shaking event right there. How did you make it through that moment and not get completely crushed by it?
Well, one thing I did right at that point is that I actually made sure that I stayed around other people, including my brother, and including my cousin and my mother. And I actually moved back in with my parents. So that helped a lot. I made sure that I wasn't alone.
Understand? Yeah, to maintain that human connection, and of course you had lost a very close connection, or at least a radical shift. Yeah, that totally makes sense. I understand. And then but then you moved to Canada, right? And then perhaps, but from unless you have family in Canada, then that puts you again alone for a short time as you get established. How did you make it through that transition period to land in Canada and find your new calling and vocation?
Well, first of all, it's been quite difficult because I'm 38 now, and moving to a new country at this age, I guess it's not that easy as doing the same thing at 12 when you're 20, because, I am way more attached to Russia then I could have been at 20. And so, yeah, it's been quite lonely. It's been quite lonely. And one thing that definitely helps me to feel less lonely is connecting to my loved ones back in Russia as much as possible over messengers and over video. So
Yeah,
this has been really helpful. And on a more spiritual level, it has helped me, I think, to develop more patience and more love, because as I realize how much I love them, actually, I feel, yeah, I feel this ability for loving, my capacity for love actually increasing. And that's
interesting.
what, yeah.
Yeah, and it's almost the absence and the fact that you're so far away that really adds the color and the structure around that. Wow. Yeah, and of course with the modern technology, it is easier to keep in touch, and you're able to maintain those connections over the long distance. So that's super helpful. Now, at what point did you begin developing these disciplines, the coaching that you're involved with, as well as eventually we're getting to the topic of meditation? How did all of that? How did that discipline begin to take shape in your life?
Mm, well, first of all, if we go back in history, I I've been a fan of self-improvement and self-help literature and podcasts for a very long time. I think I started back in 2010 when I listened to Tony Robbins, and his materials helped me pull myself out of mild depression. So I've become a huge believer, and I've been going back and forth with these materials over the next 5 or 10 years. And until finally, when I came to Canada, I realized, okay, I need to make a career shift because I don't want to be a translator anymore at this point, although I still enjoy it, just because I don't really see future in that profession. So because I'm such a big fan of self-improvement, I decided that it would be a very, very smooth transition for me to go into coaching and see how I can help people with self-improvement and resolving their challenges.
Very good. Okay. So at the point that you made this shift, had you taken an extensive amount of training, and it was just a matter of pulling, pushing the switch, if you will, and making the change and reaching out for clients, or was it a slow build up process where you had to reach out, identify some needs, and then tailor an offering to meet specific needs of the clients that you began working with?
Well, I did it this way. First, I had my coaching with the Tony Robbins program called Core 100. When I finished, and yeah, while I was doing the program, I also started my marketing. And by the end of the program, I started acquiring clients. And of course, this is still a process because although quite a few of my clients, they have stayed with me for a very long time. Actually, today I celebrated with one of the clients that he has reached day 252 of our work together, and he has been clean from his bad habit for yeah for that number of days. So yeah, that felt pretty good. But on the other
Outstanding.
hand,
Yeah.
I'm still tweaking my process for finding new clients. That's a never-ending challenge, right?
I suppose, yeah, definitely. As needs change and just as the demographics change and who you're able to reach out to, of course, it's an ever changing puzzle, right? To find the right key and the right lock and get things moving. So, what would you say are the ideal clients that you've been working with up to this time? If you could just characterize demographically who they are, as far as age or what type of solution they're looking for.
Well, my favorite clients are people who want to actually improve their relationships, either an existing relationship, let's say a marriage, or they want to find love. And the demographic for them is, I think, both male and female, let's say 30 to 45 years old.
I got you. Okay. So already been through the early 20s, the college and early career type lifestyle, and now they're more serious and more interested in developing something lasting. And wow,
Exactly.
that's outstanding. Okay, that's great. Yeah, I mean, and a very necessary, especially these days with I see that folks are being pulled away so much that I imagine that a need for your type of coaching would only be increasing at this point as folks then naturally rebound and want to reach out and make those meaningful connections again.
Probably. I haven't seen it in my practice, but yeah, that's I'm up for it.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, and yeah, in a way, I'm not working specific to relationships, but I personally work in the stress elimination side, right? Where I think it would be particularly effective in a relationship where there is stress for me, somebody like me to come in and work on the stress and the response itself, and then lower the scale of the conflict and de-amplify and de-escalate and encourage folks then to reach out to you and develop those relationship skills and the ability to make those even deeper connections. So pretty huge, a nice opportunity these days. Now, just getting into your personal disciplines, you mentioned that you are into some types of meditation. How do you apply that? Of course, outside of developing a great night's sleep, how do you apply that in your conscious life to develop that clarity to help your clients as well as to keep moving forward personally?
Well, yeah, even though it's so helpful, it's my process is very simple. I just sit down for 30 minutes and I either don't don't listen to anything, or I listen to a guided meditation, and that's it. And I make sure that I focus either on just thinking about nothing, clearing my mind, or listening to the voice of the speaker on that guided meditation, and that's it. Uh,
Super simple. Yeah, I see
yeah,
that as the best solutions are that way, right? They're the ones right in front of you that most people think, well, that probably won't even work. But yeah, actually, that's where the wisdom is that simple solution does work if we only implement it and spend the 30 minutes to get clear and allow our mind to empty itself and recharge, and then be ready to receive the inputs that are waiting to come in. If I could ask, which do you find is more effective, the emptying of the mind, where you think about emptiness, or the guided meditation, where perhaps you're being led through a visualization exercise or something a little bit more deliberate?
I would say they're both effective, but in their own way. Because when I just quiet my mind, the idea is to get refreshed, to get to de-stress. Yes. And when I listen to guided meditation, normally this is something that like self-inquiry, or like things related to becoming more enlightened. And this feels more like work, and I feel that by doing that, I am making more progress towards becoming enlightened, which is quite a distant goal, but I'm still doing that. So I guess two different reasons.
Now I understand. So you have the meditation to relax and bring calmness, which is the subject of our show here, and also the meditation to enlighten, which produces calmness in all areas of your life, as you can then approach everything else from a more enlightened state. But I completely agree that one is a lot more work than the other one. So yeah, I actually pursue both. I do a little bit of, like you said, emptiness meditation, or perhaps a meditation on a singular topic, and I also do the guided, like you say, which is more of it's like a specific stimulation that designs to bring your mind out of its core state into something more elevated in one direction or another. So yeah, I completely agree. Highly valuable. Do you take that technique, both the empty mind as well as the guided meditation, alone, or do you find it supported with some of the other techniques that you use, particularly I have in mind what you mentioned about how you manage your diet and perhaps other elements of your life. Do you find that meditation is something unto itself, or is it best when supported with other life habits that can make the meditation more effective?
Yeah, I think that that's a system. That's like meditation helps my eating habits, and then my eating habits influence my meditation. I do believe that they're interconnected. And let's say I think the way I eat, and I eat once a day. So, and the pain, the hunger that I feel for a few hours during the day when I'm really hungry, I think, let's say, this is something that helps me to get enlightened as well, because I feel pain. That pain helps me, like, dismantle my ego just a little bit every
Mm-hmm.
time. And this is this is yet another way to become more enlightened.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, I'm so far away from being enlightened. I'm just happy taking these small steps every day.
And I think that's so important, right? Is that I think that folks that pursue enlightenment tend to think that that it's a sea change, and that one day something in their existence will open up and bang, right, and suddenly you're enlightened. And I think that's what happens at the end, but it does not happen until you go through this careful discipline that you're talking about. So yeah, I really celebrate that. Little steps every day where you have the physical reminder, as you mentioned, eating once, where you have the hunger pang, which reminds you of the mortality of your body, and then it helps to separate the mind, and so the mind and body then, or the mind then maintains a higher level of control over the body, and then you're reinforcing that through your daily routine. So yeah, I can definitely see how this is highly systemized, and I also salute your commitment to the 30 minutes a day, because for most of us that will be incredibly difficult.
Sorry,
Is
I
that
guess that's my fire alarm going.
okay? Very good. I'm just glad it wasn't on this end because my fire alarm sounds very similar here.
I know.
Excellent, excellent. Um, Now, as far as in a way of closing, would you be able to? You mentioned that one of your clients actually has maintained a level of clarity and actually clearing of negative habits for 252 days. Might you just have one more success story that is an outcome of this careful journey of self discipline that you've been maintaining and developing, and how you've applied that through your coaching that you're offering to your clients? Might you have just one more quick story that we could share and close the broadcast with?
Sure. Well, let's say I have this female client. She came to me in September. She's from Russia. She's 40, and she has had huge problems with her son. He's 11 years old, and the problem with the son was that she caused him psychological trauma, like to be honest. And he was very afraid of her. He couldn't be honest with her. He was always lying, and he had problems at school. And he had a friend, like, who was quite destructive in terms of the influence that he was causing on this guy. And she was pretty much desperate about the situation. She felt that there was nothing she could do, because she did not have the tools to manage the relationship and to really resolve the problem, the core problem, which was her anger, and her expectations. She expected too much of the kid. So we worked with her, and basically what I taught her was that she should focus on just loving him and creating a caring environment that will make him feel loved, appreciated, praised, and that environment would help him actually develop more responsibility, more faith in himself, and improve through that route, rather than by her making him do what she wanted. And lo and behold, everything worked as expected for me, but not for her, because she did not expect the results that she would get, and the results were, well, yeah, they were pretty good, I would say. So he's now in much better shape. They enjoy. It's been just 4 months, but they already enjoy a great relationship. Like they cuddle together, they spend way more time together, and she noticed how he's now open to tell her the truth rather than lie. He started to help her more around the house, and in general, like they enjoy bonding together, spending quality time, really connecting more. So it's been wonderful. I sort of expected that result, but I mean, it was way beyond my expectations as well.
Wow, that's so outstanding and so necessary. The parent-child relationship like that, to have it turn so constructively. And it sounds like at first maybe that was not quite what she expected would be the outcome.
Exactly. She had to go through, well, quite a lot of resistance, because the idea is that she can actually let go of control and, and let the kid like make his own decisions and love him instead of criticizing him. That was completely alien to her.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I totally get it. Yeah. Yeah. And I think as a parent, it is perhaps a little bit too easy to fall into that trap of teaching through criticism. So wow, yeah, I mean, I salute the result that you've achieved there, and two lives changed forever, right, for the good. That has to really come back to you with such energy and positivity and great vibration that only helped to spur you forward into the next clients that you'll be helping. Wow, such a necessary work. I really appreciate it, Roman, and appreciate you coming on to the Center of Calmness here to join me and share that wonderful story.
Well, the pleasure has been mine. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So I wanted to share some contact information for anyone out there that might wish to reach out to you, Roman. And it's nice and simple, right? It's just your first and last name, romanmironov.com. And I'll spell it out for the eventual publishing here into the podcast, which would be audio only. And that is RomanMironov.com. And Roman, I really appreciate it once again. And thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And for the Center of Calmness, I'm DK Warner.